my wish out loud because this is
Just manifest. Just manifest. Mommy, it will cover everything else.
Say it out loud, girl.
I want to get a master's scholarship to go study in London.
Yeah.
Pursue my studies in 2022 at King's College London, September 2021.
Done.
You, it's part 2. You, it's part 2. Let me just align baby girl over here. To be quite honest, I'm gonna be dead serious. I'm shooting this actually on the same day I shot part 1. I just changed my top because, you know, I just changed my top. Welcome to part 2 of the video. So if you haven't watched part 1 where I map out what my master's journey is, please do so now, and that will give you a bit of context on how we got here. This is strictly for people that are looking to either apply specifically for Chevening or apply generally for a scholarship or university, whatever application process you want to do for postgrad or masters. Hopefully this will help in some way. I am not an expert. It's just me kind of like relaying my experience, relaying my approach to the application process. That will hopefully help anybody out there, because I have been receiving a lot of DMs on LinkedIn, DMs on Facebook and Instagram, basically people trying to get some advice on how to approach the application process, right? Just to give a bit of background around the Chevening scholarship. So Chevening is a very prestigious scholarship. I think it's been around since the 1980s, if not 90s. Sorry if I'm mistaken. There are about 50,000 alumni all around the world that have received and benefited from the Chevening scholarship. And this year, in my particular year, they chose 50 scholars in the Southern Africa region between South Africa, Swaziland and Lesotho to form part of the 2021 and 2022 cohort. So basically I'm one of 50 people that got the scholarship in Southern Africa. Like, guys, it's crazy. So anybody, this is a global scholarship. So many people from various different countries benefit from this scholarship and will make their way into the UK to go pursue their master's degree. So it's really fantastic. As I mentioned in the previous video, the Chevening scholarship is a very progressive scholarship in a sense that it doesn't really matter what you study. What matters is that you show that you are a leader in what you are doing, you're a leader in your field, and that you have plans to transform your country, to transform your industry, to transform your continent. It really is about people that are passionate about what they do, people that are visionaries in what they do, people that are trailblazers in what they do. And it doesn't matter what field that is. For them, every field is important, but what is the most important is that they empower people that have leadership potential. And speaking to other alumni, they were really persistent and very, one common thread that they always mentioned in approaching your application is to always ensure that you use practical examples of how you have showcased the various skills that they ask in the essay. It's very important that you don't just say, oh, I'm a great leader because a good leader leads by example and is a team player. That's not enough. You have to actually show practical examples of how you've shown that you're a team player, how you've shown leading by example, how you've shown etc. Those qualities that you believe make up a leader, how have you shown that? That's what they care about in your application. So let me break it down for you. Before, mind you, I have my phone here. I made some notes just so that I do not miss anything. So as I was completing my application, right? So before I even started my essays, I told myself that, okay, cool, I'm gonna watch YouTube videos, I'm gonna attend the Q&As and really go into the writing process, or the planning process at least, of my essay, having knowledge on how to approach it. Do not, I repeat, do not start writing your essays without planning, without having done your research about what they're looking for in each question, without having gone to watch a few YouTube videos from other alumni. Like, please do not go in there blindly. You need to plan out your essay. You need to plan out how you're going to approach each section, especially because there are there's word count limitations. So you can only say a certain amount of things because of the word count. So please be mindful of that. Plan. So I watched a few YouTube videos. I attended the Q&A sessions with the alumni. I made notes as I was going, made notes of how to approach it, right? And what I did was that for each section, right, I almost created like a mind map, for lack of a better word. It was a mind map of what I'm going to say in each paragraph, right? And what is it exactly that I'm going to speak to. So remember I said that it's really important for you to show examples, practical examples of how you showcase leadership qualities, or how you've used networking skills to your advantage. So for instance, for the leadership question, I approached my first paragraph in describing what I believe a great leader is, what they possess, right? In the next paragraphs, with each quality, I only named 3 qualities, right? With each quality, each paragraph addressed when I have showcased that quality. So for instance, I can't remember what I said in my essay, guys. This was like, it just feels like so long ago. Literally, it's been like over a year now. So what you need to do when you're approaching the examples is that you need to use something that is called the C.A.R message. C.A.R, C-A.R. You have to define the challenge, the action that you took, and what the result of that action was. So this I learned not from a Chevening scholar. It was actually from a specific YouTube channel, from this guy that specializes in, skills that you need to adopt maybe when you're looking for a job, or social skills when you want to make new friendships and stuff like that. I went back in preparation for a previous job that I was applying for. I went back to that method because I think it's so powerful in structuring stories into your essays so that you tell practical examples of how, like I said, of how you believe a leader should be. So if problem solving is an example, using the C.A.R method, what you would say is that, actually, let me make this is a real example, for instance, of what happened in my company, right? So due to the lockdown and due to the pandemic hitting so hard financially for businesses, a lot of our clients weren't spending as much in their marketing budgets because there were other things that the business matters that had to be taken care of from a financial perspective. As an effect, that had effect on our agency, and they had to ultimately retrench or have salary cut downs for people. With the retrenchment of people, that ultimately meant that the workload increased, but there weren't enough resources to ultimately deal with the pressure and the deadlines that clients were setting up for us. So that's a challenge, right? You define what the challenge was. Action. This is where then you define what is the actual thing that you did to address that challenge. So for instance, as an action, a lot of people were retrenched, right? But also there was a lot of people going and moving into freelance positions as well. So instead of the business committing to salary expenses each month, what we could do is collaborate with freelancers and work with them on a project-to-project base, and they can get paid in that way. In that way, the company can save a bit of money and ultimately, be able to meet deadlines at the same time as well. So I had recommended that we use, various freelancers, people that I had within my network, people that other people had within their network, and collaborate with them from a project-to-project base to ultimately meet the deliverables that were required for the projects that we had going on. And with that change that was happening so fast, we needed human capital, resources that were able to, deal and jump on projects with us and to meet those deadlines that client was setting out for us, because it was business as usual for them. It was like, listen, we're trying to deal with the crisis. You guys still need to keep things moving. What was the result of that? For the results of that, for instance, we got multiple nominations at various awards. We got an Assegai nomination for our DSTV campaign, Update Your Status. Our F&B clients got SME Bank for SMEs of the Year. That was an accolade that they won this year for a campaign that we did at the end of last year in collaboration with other agencies. Another result was obviously because we had freelancers, the business was able to save money, but also we were able to meet our deadlines, and less pressure was being put on us at the internal resources because we had other people to help us as well. Those were the results. So that's just an example of how you've shown that you are a problem solver. You know, it doesn't matter what context it is, guys. It doesn't even have to be within your work. It can be within how you've been a problem solver within your friendships, how you've been a problem solver within a particular organization or the charity work that you have done. There's no problem that's too small. What they want to see is that the quality, the ability to think as a problem solver or think as somebody who's a leader is there. You are capable of doing that. So don't sell yourself short. Obviously, for me, I wanted to use examples that showcase it from various spheres. So I used the example from work. I used an example that was sort of like an industry example, how I played a part in my industry. And then I used a social example of people that I've interacted with or networks that I've dealt with where there's been challenges, action, and results. So you use 3 of the best that show the dynamicism that you have in dealing with or acting in a leadership way. I don't even know if that is English but you know what I mean. So the C.A.R method, I highly recommend it, that you structure each of your paragraphs to have a C.A.R, a challenge, an action, and result. And I always end in bringing it back to either my degree or bringing it back to the scholarship's requirement to say that with these skills, this is how I'm ultimately going to impact my industry. With these skills that I have acquired, that I've learned, I'm looking to strengthen them in this way. Because they're really asking you about soft skills. These are soft skills. They're not even asking you about the technicality of your industry. They're asking you whether you have those soft skills to really be a trail freaking blazer. But one thing you need to do, guys, when you're approaching a scholarship is do not hold anything back. No achievement is too small. Put it out there. What they do not know, they will never find out if you don't say it, you know? So be intentional in showcasing the best qualities of yourself. Obviously, like, it needs to be, the result needs to show a quality, you know, that you're a thinker, you're a strategist, you're somebody that is a doer. You're not a talker, you're a doer. I'd say you can try to choose 3, but practically when I'm thinking about the paragraphs, you probably only need to choose 2, but see if you can address the 3rd quality in maybe the 2nd paragraph that showcases, because sometimes you can showcase two different qualities in one example. You know, you can showcase being a problem solver, but also a collaborator in one example if you believe that's what makes a good leader. Networking skills, same thing that I've just said. You need to use the C.A.R method. How have networking skills benefited you or helped you within your career or your life? Showcase practical examples that you have shown that. It's so important for you to not say, this is what networking is. I believe networking can help me when I get to the UK. Yes, they already know that it is going to do that, but they want to know that when they take you to the UK, you're going to be able to use those skills, those practical skills that you've learned with the examples that you've shown. You will be able to use those skills when you go to the UK, especially because that is a very, very important part of the scholarship, is that they want you to build a global network. They want you to build relationships that are going to be beneficial for you, that are going to be beneficial for your country, and ultimately that requires you to be a good networker as well. Then your plan as far as the universities that you want to study. So when it comes to that, obviously there's a lot of research that you need to do as far as the university that you want to study. You can't just say, oh, I want to study at LSE, Oxford, and this. Like, it needs to be very intentional why you chose your 3 university choices. So make sure you do your research and you know thoroughly about your program specifically, their ranking, maybe awards that they won, maybe the networks that they have, maybe they're connected to a particular company that you want to ultimately go and work with and collaborate with. You know, there's a renowned professor that teaches that particular course that you want to also, you know, supervise your thesis or whatever the case may be. Be very thorough and sure with the university choices that you have. Last but not least, then your plan post studies, right? This is really, really important because ultimately with Chevening Scholarship, you have to come back to the country for 2 years before you can go work anywhere else. And this is because they're empowering you in order for you to empower your country and your industry. They want you to come back and transform your industry and transform your country. So you need to know what is your plan when you come back to South Africa. You need to map that out and be very, very clear that there are practical steps that you are taking. Whereas, for instance, for me, I have a particular relationship with somebody that works at a particular company that I want to work with when I come back. I will not mention it because I'm not trying to jinx it, but I have a relationship with that person, and I know when I come back, and I want to maintain that relationship throughout. When I come back, I have even more reason for them to reconsider maybe an application or me approaching them, because now I'm coming back with an international qualification as well. I want to build international networks. So as much as I have to come back to South Africa for 2 years, I'm happy to do that. But ultimately, the networks that I'm going to build globally will hopefully be beneficial in the opportunities that I'm pursuing when I come back to South Africa, and show the company that, oh, listen, I know somebody in London that can help us with this and that, or I know a particular company that I was involved with during my time in London that we can tap into, whatever the case may be. Or I have a potential client overseas in Europe that is looking to tap into a South African market, and they are looking for an agency to do their marketing strategy for Africa. Whatever that is, I want to come back with that leverage of not only do I have an international degree, but I actually have the international relationships that could really be instrumental in me showing that, I'm an asset to the company beyond just my qualification. So be specific. Say it with your chest. Say it with everything you have in you, what your plan is. Your plans need to be measurable, they need to be practical. And then obviously, don't forget a global vision, guys. When you approach your application, think global, think international. Don't just think South Africa. Think about how you can transform Africa. Think about how you can take Africa to the world. You know that the world is looking for us for inspiration right now. You know that the world is casting their eye for skills, for people within our continent to ultimately help them navigate, this new world of being in Africa, and Africa coming up. And creative industry is on the rise right now. And people are looking for people with the business acumen to ultimately develop communication strategies that can speak to not only South Africa, but speak to an African market as well, because it's a whole nother ball game in Africa. You can't take your European country and think you're going to retrofit it into an African context. You need people that understand the market and the audiences here to ultimately be able to tap into within Africa and then ultimately within the world. So that is just an example of how you can think globally beyond your industry. Beyond your country. Obviously, you don't want to sell dreams. You don't want to sell dreams. You want to sell goals. You want to tell what your goal is. And goals are measurable. Goals are practical. Goals are definitive, So be specific, guys. Be specific. I know that word count is a word, word count for me was the worst. Yeah, so anyways, that is how I would say you must approach your application. Hopefully you would have learned something from what I've said that will be really helpful in your process of preparing for your application. And I'm really, really excited, guys. I'm going to London. I'm really excited, and I am gonna continue my vlogging journey. I will vlog my journey all the way to London and my quarantine period. So that's what the next video is going to be about. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one. From me, it's ciao for now.